Rotopax owns the jerry can market for trucks, but for a motorcyclist, looks like a box of hot air. Rotopax are everywhere, usually mounted next to a rusty shovel on the roof of an overkill overland vehicle way out in the remote areas of the Whole Foods parking lot. It's an industry leader, they look damn near indestructible, and they're a flex, but they aren't flawless. 20 years ago, separate vents and simple functional spouts on gas cans were outlawed in the States by the EPA, and these became mandatory. Big Brother didn't trust us not to spill, so they mandated a sippy cup, but the one they gave us somehow makes more of a mess. Rotopax can't get around that better than anyone else, so they recommend you purge these ventless cans once a day, every 10 degrees in temperature change, and every 1,000 feet in elevation. It's durable because the plastic is thick, but that makes it heavy, which means you need a burly metal mounting system, and you might need something to mount that mount too, which weighs you down even further, and it all adds cost. This is what I needed to mount a 1-gallon Rotopax to my DR. It all costs $240, weighs 7 pounds dry, and 13 when it's full. So it might be rugged, but I still have to treat it like a baby, burping it all the time while it pees on me. Let's look at some alternatives. If you don't want to add permanent hardware and a giant red box onto your bike that screams, "Hey, I have extra gas and money probably," the giant loop fuel bladder is much more accommodating. But what if it's not a long haul and a gallon is way more than I need? For shorter trips down roads less traveled, you could stash a fuel bottle on your bike somewhere. Simple, yes, but of course there's still a way to spend way too much money. Besides, it's only a splash and you still have to stop to get it in the tank. There is a way to add range without adding pit stops. You can burn 6 more liters on a carbureted bike while putting your precious petroleum eggs into 2 baskets with the auto-fed auxiliary tanks from Achirby's. It's a proof of concept that with a little reworking might prove the most practical. First, let's look at this liquid reservoir from Giant Loop. It holds 6 liters and mounts pretty much anywhere you want it to. Plus, unlike any jerry can, when this is empty, it gets smaller. Roll it up and tuck it away, or use it to cinch your gear down a little bit better. $140, 13 ounces dry, and it doesn't need a vent or to be purged if you leave a little bit of extra room when you fill it up. And it doesn't have that stupid safety nozzle. Know why?
Oh, why?
Because the Giant Loop Armadillo bag is not intended for use as fuel storage, transport, or use as a gas bag in the United States of America. That's what I call a giant loophole, and I'm all about it. Now, for just an extra liter or two, I like to use a bottle. This 2-liter German-made Trax canister kit from SW Motec is kind of like a water bottle on a bicycle in that it mounts to an aluminum cage which you bolt on somewhere, and it comes with a spout that you need to stash somewhere else, but you don't really need it. Good for maybe the front of a hard case on a touring bike, but the bottle alone is $70, and it's $140 for the whole kit, while in some parts of the world we can get gas and Pepsi bottles from a roadside stand.
It is our most modestly priced receptacle.
We just need a bottle to not explode in the sun and not dissolve when there's fuel in it too long. I'd rather just go with 2 of these Trails End bottle holders from Nelson Riggs. The bottles you can get on Amazon, MEC, Army Surplus, they're all over the place. And thanks to the MOLLE straps on the bag, you can mount these all over the place. I keep 2 of these on my bike at all times. One for a fuel bottle and one for other stuff. If you know this bike, you know that Achirby's makes a few bigger tanks for it, so I could do that. And ditch these rad-ass 90s graphics? No. One sticker-saving option is the 6-liter auxiliary fuel tank from Achirby's. Made for carbureted bikes, it splices directly into the fuel line, giving you a huge boost in range without any need for additional liquid transfers. Having a separate tank hooked up to the carb means that if you puncture one of them, the other can still keep you going, which is a plus. They want you to drill your fender as a mounting solution, but there are ways around that. It's a little hokey, but it works. And it begs the question, why can't I hook up any other gas tank so it auto-feeds in the same way? Turns out with a little bit of JB Weld and PEX hardware, you can. So let's recap. Rotopax on a motorcycle is overpriced, overrated, overkill, and they're a hassle to store and pour thanks to the man keeping them down. Gas bags are the right choice if you're going to go big, and bottles are an easy and discreet way to stay prepared in a pinch. Auxiliary auto-fed tanks have their place, and they can give your bike a second life, but for me, if I'm on a trip long enough to warrant a spare gas tank, I'm going to need that rack space for the rest of my gear. So I have a giant loop Armadillo bag rolled up in my pack, and I only load it if I'm not sure I'll make it through the next stretch. I don't have a fuel gauge, and I get lost a lot, so I always like to make sure I carry a bottle with me, which sort of chills me out when I'm running on reserve. So Ryan can put these two on my tab. Thanks for watching.